The following announcement is brought to you by the Xtreme World Order.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, soldiers of the Xtreme, hello and welcome back to That Xtreme Wrestling channel. My name is Samson, I am the Xtreme Gaming Guru, and today I welcome you back to another episode of AFK, or Away From Kontroller, the series where we put the controllers down and let the CPU battle it out for our viewing pleasure while we sit down and talk wrestling shop. Now with that being said, if you have any topics or questions for a future episode, let me know in the comment section below, or you can hit me up at Twitter at TXWC4Life or over on Instagram at SamsonXWO. Now with comments and suggestions being mentioned here, ladies and gentlemen, no comments or suggestions on the next video. Very disappointed, but because of that, I get to talk about whatever I want in this episode, so I really can't complain. And speaking of topics, what I want to talk about today is WWE and what I think the reasoning is behind all these crazy releases and the new NXT, and what I think the immediate future holds. Like, what is WWE building towards? And what I mean by that is a lot of people think that Vince McMahon has just completely lost his mind. He's suffering from dementia. He's lost touch with the wrestling world, and I think that is completely off base. And the reason why I say that is because I've heard so many interviews where people they say Vince McMahon is a creative genius, he's a wrestling genius. So I don't think Vince McMahon has lost touch as much as, everybody's saying he does. And the reason for all these releases and NXT being, shifted the way it is, the reason why I think, and keep in mind this is my opinion, being a wrestling fan, a person that has watched wrestling for my entire life, this is just my opinion. Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. But the reason why I think all these releases are happening is because for the longest time WWE has had to be competition for itself. Like, since WWE bought WCW and ECW, it hasn't had any immediate wrestling competition to drive it to be better, right? So it's had to spend so much money and hire so many wrestlers to split the brands and compete with itself. And when you're competing with yourself, it just doesn't work, because you don't want to do anything that's gonna put the Raw show out of business or the SmackDown show out of business. So you're really not competing with yourself. You're just kind of competing with yourself in air quotes, I guess you could say. So, for the longest time, he's had to put all this money into all these wrestlers and writers and staff and production staff and everything for these two brands. And in the immediate future, I see that coming to an end. Because right now, Vince McMahon doesn't need two brands, because he doesn't need to compete with himself anymore. Finally, we have Tony Khan. Here's a guy that loves wrestling. It's obvious he loves wrestling because he's having a very good time playing with his wrestling action figures and booking his fantasy matches right now. So we know Tony Khan loves his wrestling, and he's got a lot of money. So finally, Vince McMahon sees somebody that could possibly create a little bit of competition, which in turn would make his product that much better. So right now he sees this, he's finally got somebody with money and competition. And I remember hearing in an interview or a press call or something like that, Vince McMahon was asked what he thought about Tony Khan and his contracts. And Vince said he didn't know anything about the contracts, but if Tony's looking to build a roster, maybe he could help him out with that. And that's just paraphrasing, don't quote me on that. But that got me to think. And I think there's this is the time where the brand split is no more. All these releases, Vince is hoping that Tony Khan is going to pick up these guys, and these guys are going to help Tony Khan create a product that actually competes with the WWE, thus forcing WWE to become a better product. And if that's going to be the case, well, Vince doesn't need all of these wrestlers. He doesn't need two brands. He just needs one brand. So right now he's getting rid of all these people that he doesn't have creative ideas for and things like that, because he's just trying to get down to this solid brand, just one roster. that will compete on both SmackDown and Raw, and they'll be able to tell stories throughout the week. Because if you think about the Attitude Era, it wasn't split rosters. They had competition in WCW, so they just focused on stories that would start on Monday, and then they would carry through, and they'd finish on SmackDown, and then it would go through the pay-per-views and everything. And I think it's going to go back to that old way. So right now, WWE is just kind of getting things back to that Attitude Era, getting war ready, if you will, kind of getting back to that Monday Night War mentality. And that's what Vince McMahon is doing right now. He's saving himself so much money, right? Because WWE is making so much money right now. And the people that hold stock and the shareholders and all that stuff, they want as much of that money that's being made as possible. They don't want to see it all getting spent to create competition amongst themselves, right? They don't need to do that anymore. So my thought is they're cutting all these expenses, really narrowing down who they're going to use, making one big roster that competes across the shows. It's going to make it much easier to tell stories. They're going to get to keep so much more money because they're not spending it on contracts and production for 2 shows. So I think that's what's really happening here. Brand split is done. We're going to get one roster, storylines that, have time to breathe, time to actually tell stories. And I think that's just going to be great. And it's also going to give us a better AEW product because we're going to get better wrestlers over in AEW. Tony Khan, he's got to cut the fat over there. He's got some talent that really should not be on television. Let me just say that. I'm not going to name names, but he's got some talent that should not be on television. So this is going to give him an opportunity to get some real wrestlers in there, create genuine product, create genuine competition for WWE. And yeah, I think that's why all the roster cuts and everything. WWE is just, they don't need it anymore. They don't have to compete with themselves anymore. Tony's going to compete with them. AEW is going to compete with them. So they're just getting back to basics, getting back to what they used to do, what they know. Speaking of which, I think NXT is done. I think NXT as a show by the end of 2022 is gone. I think it's going to just go back to a training ground on local television maybe. And WWE will go back to like a filler show, just kind of recapping on Wednesday nights or whatever, that kind of bridged the gap in between Monday and Friday with SmackDown. But hey, that's just my thoughts, my opinions. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on the subject because I would love to hear it. And also let me know any topics, any questions that you'd love to hear my opinions on, because I am really enjoying this series. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't get to talk wrestling a lot and share my thoughts. So when I get to actually let them out, it feels really good, and I really like it. So I'm looking forward to making more of these episodes, and I hope you guys are enjoying them. If you do, be sure to hit that like button with the 2 sweet. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And yeah, guys, is Vince McMahon crazy? No, I don't think so. I think he's doing all of this for a reason. And that reason is he doesn't have to compete with himself anymore. He doesn't need as many superstars. So he's just going to give them to Tony. Hopefully Tony can make a better wrestling product and put up some competition, and everybody can make some money, and we as wrestling fans get exactly what we want. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. I'll talk to you in the next one. Until then, goodbye and good night. Bang. Too sweet, guys.